Chapter 6.5 is all about slope. I'm going to tell you what your book tells you about slope, plus more. Slope is the slant of a line or the steepness of a line. And to determine whether a slope is positive or negative, you first have to know your left from your right. You determine or read a slope the same way that you read from left to right. If you move from left to right, in this case, and you go up as if you were climbing a hill or a very steep mountain, then you have a positive slope. If you move from left to right and you go down, then you are having a negative slope. It's possible that you would have a line where you would not go up or down. You stay on a horizontal plane. And those lines are simply called a zero slope because there is no slope at all. And then you're going to have these weird lines where you're not sure if you're going up or if you're going down. So you don't know if the slope is a positive thing or a negative thing because it's perfectly vertical. And in that case, we just simply say that the slope is undefined. Another definition for slope is that the slope is equal to the rise divided by the run, or the rise over the run. And since the slope of all lines that aren't vertical are given by definite numbers, we can find the slope by moving from point left to point right. By moving vertically, that's our rise, and then we divide our rise by what we run to the right. On this graph, to go from point left to the one on point right, we're going up this amount and we're running over this amount, which don't have any distinct numbers. So let's look at this graph, okay? This one doesn't really have anything pretty to deal with, okay? But if we go from this point L to this point R, or the point on the left to the point on the right, we rise, actually going down, 13. So our rise is a negative number, and our run is 7. Okay, so our slope is equal to the rise divided by the run, or negative 13 divided by 7. Not a pretty number, but it works. In your book, you'll be shown graphs and you will have to count the rise and the run spaces to find the slope. Or it might give you two pairs of coordinate points for you to plot and then graph and then count to find the slope. But I'm going to show you a formula that your book doesn't tell you, but it is actually quite famous in algebra circles. And it is this one. M stands for slope, and the slope can be found by measuring the change in y and dividing that by the change in x. It's actually exactly the same thing as the rise divided by the run, but it's if you have 2 points, you're going to take the second y point, subtract the first y point, and then divide that by the second x point, subtracting the first x point. Let me show you that with numbers. Let's say you were given two ordered pairs, 1, 2 and 3, 10. You would say that your x1 is 1 and your y1 is 2. Okay, your x2 or your second x point is 3 and your second y point is 10. According to the formula, m equals y2 or 10 minus y1, which is 2. And then we're going to divide that by x2, which is 3, subtract x1, which is 1. 10 minus 2 is 8. 3 minus 1 is 2. It equals 4. So we have a slope of 4. If we had these 2 points, negative 3, 7, and 5, 7, and we plugged it into the formula, we would get 7 minus 7 on the top, and 5 minus a negative 3 on the bottom. We'd get 0 on top, 8 on the bottom, and 0 would be our slope. And your book will give you equations such as 2x minus 7y equals 7. And at this point, you know you could create a table, choose values for x, find y, or you could find the x and y intercepts, as you learned in the last session, and then go ahead and plot those and count your slope. But let me show you one more way that you can do it. And I hinted at this the other day in class, but if you have an equation in standard form, which is ax plus by equals c, then you can find your y-intercept by dividing c by b, and you can also find the slope by taking the negative of a and dividing it by b. Again, let me show you this with a real equation so you'll have a better idea what I'm talking about. If you were given the equation 2x minus 7y equals 7, then you would know that a is 2, b is negative 7, c is positive 7. Your y-intercept is c divided by b, in this case 7 divided by negative 7, which equals negative 1. Your slope is negative a, or negative 2, divided by b, negative 7. So you would have negative 2 divided by negative 7, which is the same thing as 2 over 7, or a positive slope. If you were to plot it, you would plot that y-intercept, negative 1. You would go up to 1, 2, and you would go over, let me use our little soccer girl, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we would be able to connect our dots to draw a nice line. Remember that we put arrows indicating that the line goes on forever and ever. But we can plot a line just by knowing the y-intercept and the slope. That will help you as you're doing today's lesson. Just a couple pointers for you. You probably know this, but just to remind you, is that if it says the origin, it means the point 0, 0. And so it's actually giving you a coordinate point when it says origin. And another thing is if it tells you that the slope is negative 5 or 6 or something, that whole number or that integer can be placed over 1 because the rise would be negative 5 and the run would be 1. So any whole number you can put over 1, and then you might read it a little bit easier as the slope. Hope you have a great time with this lesson. Bye-bye.